mean, leaders don't burn out because they lack tactics. They burn out because they've ignored the hidden 80%. Their energy leaks, their decision fatigue, the resistant patterns. Fixing this is how you prevent breakdowns that cost careers and culture and profits. Do you know that most, if not all, leadership books, training are basically incomplete? And even though leadership training is basically everywhere, right? It's on LinkedIn, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, you name it. There's a never-ending stream of posts and videos and reels offering tips and tactics and frameworks to become a better leader. But here's the problem. Most of these resources only cover about 20% of what it truly makes a leader effective. The other 80%, man, it's invisible and it's often dismissed, overlooked, and it's truly what separates good leaders from great ones. That 80%, it isn't about the frameworks or the checklists or the KPIs. It's about the part that many people don't like to talk about. It's about mindset. It's about energy. It's about flow. It's about the superconscious access and intuition and recovery. These are the internal operating system that determines whether the 20% that you're learning in school, that you're being taught, actually works. Yet, too many leaders consider these soft skills optional at best. And that mindset is costing leaders time, it's costing leaders clarity and results. So today we're going to unpack why this matters and how leaders can leverage the invisible 80%. So the first thing we're going to look at is how to reframe the 80% as a performance multiplier. And what you got to do is kind of think of leadership like a Formula One car, right? The strategy, frameworks, and tactics, that's the 20%. That's like the hood and the body and those sponsorship stickers, right? But without fuel and an engine and precision calibration, that's that invisible 80%. The car just won't finish the race. And in terms of leadership, tactics collapse under the stress without aligned energy and clarity. Decision-making slows, creativity stagnates, and execution suffers. Without the 80%, teams reflect on the leader's energy. Low energy or burnout spreads like a disease. And leaders who treat mindset, energy, and flow as core to their business drivers rather than optional, man, they begin to unlock exponentially higher performance. This 80%, this invisible 80%, it's not fluff, it's infrastructure. And a good example is that leadership tactics only create leverage if your energy and your mindset and your clarity are aligned. Without that, tactics collapse. And they collapse under stress. They don't stick. That learning fades because there's too much mental noise going on to really focus on those tactics. The second thing is it really anchors, this 80% anchors in the ROI and tangible outcomes. I mean, C-level leaders and entrepreneurs aren't sold on feeling good alone. They want measurable results. Well, here's how the 80% directly impacts the bottom line. There's the time ROI. Teams and leaders can reclaim hours, 10 plus hours per week. And this creates more bandwidth for strategic priorities. How do they claim that time? Well, if you're spending less time worrying, which can stagnate performance and can stagnate creativity, if that time that you spent worrying is focused on a project, on creating solutions, those hours come back to you. That's how you reclaim time, by eliminating that worry, that mental noise, that procrastination. And then there's decision ROI, where faster, clearer, and higher quality decisions appear, reducing errors and opportunity costs. That's built within that 80%. And then there's the energy ROI, more stamina for high-stake projects and meetings and presentations. And then the cultural ROI. You'll see less burnout, lower burnout rates, higher employee engagement, and stronger retention. You'll have less people, less talent walking out the door if you focus on that 80%. And what you have to do as a leader is say, instead of rest and flow are important, and they are important, say this: rest and flow are how leaders and how team members can gain extra 5-10 hours of high output work without hiring another team member, without stressing or burning out members of the team. That is the ROI. So translating this 80%, this invisible 80% into how team members and other leaders in the organization can begin to understand and pay attention. It's not mindset, it's cognitive performance. Instead of energy management, it's leadership stamina. Instead of flow, it's peak productivity states. And instead of rest, it's strategic recovery. Instead of accessing the superconscious, it's intuitive decision making at scale. And so you see, the invisible 80% is so important to leadership. It's so important to your team's dynamics and how they work together. I mean, this framing positions your inner work not as soft skills, but as leadership, as a leadership operating system that drives tangible results. You as a leader, if you understand this infrastructure, you can then understand the risk mitigation for implementing and following through to make sure that invisible 80% becomes visible. One of the things you can do is just reframe it, right? Executives, your bosses are wired to reduce risk. But burnout and poor decisions and low engagement are hidden threats that many leaders ignore. And the invisible 80% is where these risks live and can be eliminated. In fact, energy leaks and exhaustion be restored. Eliminate the leaks and you can restore energy. You can fix decision fatigue and eliminate resistant patterns and limiting beliefs that many of the team members are experiencing. Addressing these really isn't optional. It's how you as a leader can protect your career, protect the workplace culture, and grow profits. I mean, leaders don't burn out because they lack tactics. They burn out because they've ignored the hidden 80%. Their energy leaks, their decision fatigue, the resistant patterns. Fixing this is how you prevent breakdowns that cost careers and culture and profits. Marshall Goldsmith famously said this: "What you got here won't get you there." And many high-performing leaders succeed with tactics, hustle, and the grit. But scaling and sustaining that performance and leading larger teams, that doesn't happen because it requires an upgrade to to their operating system. If your leadership style got you a 7-figure business or a senior executive role, it doesn't automatically equip you to scale further, to lead bigger teams, to manage more complex projects, or to sustain performance long term. You must integrate. You must integrate energy management practices that prevent burnout. You must integrate systems to support cognitive clarity, and you must have strategies to access flow and intuition for better decision making and high quality work. Man, don't you want to be a quantum leader? That's what this is about. Quantum leaders who master this invisible 80% they are kicking butt. I've got to tell you, they understand that energy ebbs and flows in predictable patterns. Quantum leaders, and I've talked about this on a previous video, are helping team members structure their work around high energy periods that produce exceptional results. And innovation, wow, they understand innovation can come from any team member regardless of the hierarchy. And quantum leaders, vulnerability and empathy are understood to be leadership strengths, not weaknesses. And they know teams perform best when they feel safe to experiment and to fail and to learn from those failures. So we talked about the invisible 80%. Quantum leaders, they understand this. They just don't manage tasks. They manage energy. They manage flow. They manage mindset. They're elevating their team's collective vibration. That's the invisible 80%. Program we created, man, it provides a structured, repeatable approach to harness that invisible 80%. We look at mindset calibration, shifting limiting beliefs to empowering ones. We look at energy management and teach how to learn to prevent the leaks and sustain peak performance. And flow activation, vitally important. How to enter states where work becomes effortless and high output. And then strategic recovery, where we integrate rest as a tool, not as a luxury. And finally, it's the intuition. We make intuitive, high-stakes decisions with confidence through our teaching. When leaders master these areas, the impact is profound. They find more time, they make better decisions, they have higher engagement, and a culture that thrives without sacrificing well-being. This is the bottom line. You've got to understand, leadership just isn't about tactics or the frameworks or charisma. It's more about an operating system that includes both the visible 20% and the invisible 80%. And those who ignore the inner work are leaving productivity, clarity, and innovation on the table. And those who embrace the 80%. It unlocks performance multipliers that separates average leaders from extraordinary ones. And if you're serious about sustainable, high-level leadership, want to be that quantum leader, your next question shouldn't be what tactics to learn next. It should be, how can I upgrade the operating system I am running on? That's the invisible 80%. That's where quantum leaders live. That's where the future of high-performing leadership starts. So share this video with somebody who's a leader, emerging leader. Go ahead, and I would love for you to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. That helps the channel out, and comment on this video. And stay tuned. We have more videos coming out each week. Thanks a lot. Stay strong.